All right. Good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to the Developers Meetup at MuleSoft Summit Asia. My name is Ditan Toho, and I'm a Senior Integration Consultant at Capgemini. I know some of you can relate to this too, but I was a full-stack Java developer and now turned into a MuleSoft Integration Consultant. I have here with me as my co-host, Joe.
Thanks, D. So, hi everyone. So, I'm Joe Mamangon, and I'm currently a senior integration consultant at Capgemini. So, I have a total of more than 4 years of integration experience. And, well, for tonight, we will be your moderator and host.
All right. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Joe. I believe that there are a lot of integration enthusiasts here in the call, and I'm actually seeing familiar names too. Welcome to another mind-blowing event. Now, before we start with another significant discussion, I'd like to know, are you guys ready? Can you do us one favor and type in the chat box yes if you are? All right, thank you for your responses. Okay, so since we are all ready to keep us organized like in every other presentation, there are a few housekeeping rules we would like you to take note of during this event. Next slide, please. Hello. Next slide, please. Right, we're just having some minor technical difficulties, but we'll handle this one. Just give us one moment. Okay, thank you. So for the housekeeping rules, first and foremost, this session is being recorded and can be shared later on. You can check out the link that we will provide later. Please be muted during the speaker's presentation. We can accommodate your questions at the end of every presentation. Don't you worry, the slides for today's presentation will be shared to all attendees as well. And of course, after all the presentations, there will be a quiz game where you will get a chance to win a training voucher from MuleSoft. Are you guys excited for the vouchers?
Well, definitely yes, D. Oh, I forgot. I'm not qualified to join the game anyway.
Yeah, that's actually, unfortunately, it's correct. Okay, but that means there are more chances of winning for our other attendees then. So grab that chance by joining in the quiz game later. All right, now we can proceed with the agenda of this event. Okay, for our agenda, we will be following this timeline for our session today. Okay, let me give a brief introduction to the people and organizations behind this event. So a big thanks to our organizers. We have Ryan, Janos, Chris, Joe, and yours truly. And of course, thank you to our sponsors, Capgemini and MuleSoft. This event wouldn't be possible without the team's effort. Kudos to you guys. All right then. Before we proceed, can you guys give me a show of hands for the first-time attendees? Just type in the chat box, me. Anyone? Any first-time attendees? Wow, we have a lot of first-time attendees. Welcome, guys. Okay, that's a lot of new enthusiasts joining today. I'm actually very curious myself and very thrilled to learn something new today. How about you, Joe?
Well, yeah, of course. I'm very excited as well to introduce to all of you guys our speaker for today. Okay. So, well, I think it's time for you to meet our speaker, isn't it? So for tonight's speaker, he's currently an associate manager in Capgemini. He has a total of 14 years of integration experience, and he has experience in using multiple integration tools such as MuleSoft, Tibco, and Boomi. He worked in integration projects with different industries such as telecom, banking, retail, and learning institution. He is a MuleSoft certified integration architect, MuleSoft certified developer, and MuleSoft MCD design, API design associate. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Clint Agustin. Give him a virtual round of applause, everyone.
Thank you for that introduction. Let me try to share my screen. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. So, for today, I will be discussing AMQs. Um, so, this is the scope that we'll be having. So, message queuing introduction, anypoint MQ, traditional SEDA example implementation, anypoint MQ with SEDA and message inscription, as well as a demo, and event-driven versus API-led integration. Okay. Okay. So message queuing is one of the architectural styles and pillars of integration. It's one of the oldest form of solutions created for our integration needs. It has been around since the early days of enterprise integration. Up to this day, message queuing still plays an important role in the integration. So that's why I've chose this topic. Okay. So as per the diagram, we see that there is a producer that send the message to the broker, and then the broker relay the message asynchronously to the consumer. So this is the basic of message queuing. And then before going to deep dive to Anypoint MQ, let's take a look on the different use case of which the message queuing is being used in integrations. So I have listed here some mix of functional, non-functional, security, performance, etc. That will be help us to deliver the requirement from the customer. So first, if you have a system that keeps losing messages without getting processed, you definitely wanted a more reliable system. More reliable system. AMQ is very reliable because it stored the messages in persistence. It will be removed from the queue until the process or it has been processed successfully. So in a sense, it can offer zero messages lost in your system because it's more reliable. Okay, next. When you want a system that buffers or provision for a later time processing, you want a system that support asynchronous messaging. Um, Queues can be great scenarios wherein your application needs something done but doesn't need it now or doesn't care about the result. For example, if you want to create an object to the Salesforce API, but it doesn't need to happen real time, we can store it in a queue and then let the business logic process it on the time that we need to process it. Next, if you have a multiple system that relies to each other, let's say we shut down one system, but the other system all systems will be paralyzed because of this one system. Then what you want is a system that can decouple. Decoupling makes one system independent or autonomous of its function. By using queue between different parts of your application, you can decouple the higher dependencies. The schema of the message in the queue becomes your contract, and anything that knows how to read the message schema can be used to process the transaction. Next, we don't want always, or we don't know always how much traffic in our applications is going to have. So for example, we have a holiday. So holiday orders on holiday usually 3 times of the daily traffic. And we have no way to know what our client's going to send. I mean, the amount of volume. So we want a system that can handle traffic spikes. By combining SEDA and queuing the data, we can assure that it will be persistent and then processed eventually, even if that means it takes longer than the usual traffic due to the high traffics. Next, if you have a client requirement that will require messages to be processed in small size of transaction, you want to have a tool that will be efficient for batching. Batching is a great reason to use message queue. As we know, it is more efficient to insert 100 records into database at a time instead one at a time 100 times. You know what I mean. Batching help us optimize their performance by tuning the size of transactions. Scalable. Right, next, imagine you have an API that receives many requests every second, where no request can get lost, and all requests needs to be processed by a function that has high throughput. In other words, the web service always has to be highly available and ready to receive a new request instead of being locked by the processing of previously received requests. So in short, you want your system to be scalable. Scalable, we have an idea of a runtime scaling. In MuleSoft, we have horizontal scaling, vertical scaling of Mule workers. But functionally, if we architecture correctly, for example, SEDA, message queuing can make your system scalable, right? Next, IT resilience is the ability of an organization to maintain acceptable service level when there is a disruption of business operation, critical processes of your ecosystem. By breaking up your application and separating different components by queue, we can basically create application resilient. Resilient means that even your API can still be operational even if the part of the backend processing of the order is slightly delayed. We can design our incoming APIs to do as little possible beyond queuing the data to ensure that nothing else can bring down our ability to receive data. So for example, even if the SQL server is down, you still want to accept orders. So basically, message queuing is great use case for that. Okay, Anypoint MQ. Anypoint MQ is one of the message queuing tool developed by MuleSoft. So it is enterprise class cloud. It is fully integrated with Anypoint platform. It supports advanced asynchronous messaging, fully hosted and managed cloud message queues and exchanges. But I think we need a enterprise license before we can use this Anypoint MQ. Okay, the wonderful question is why use Anypoint MQ? So as I've said, it has an advanced asynchronous messaging. So it does not just a basic but an advanced. So it can encrypt, decrypt messages, or I mean, in transport layer, your message can be encrypted or and decrypted. Also in payload layer, it can also be accommodated. Okay. And it's also secure, reliable delivery. So as we know, the message queuing is or persist the storage in multiple data center. It can handle outages and has a full disaster recovery. And encrypt message queue to secure data at rest, or send messages to dead letter queues for additional reliability. So I'll show you later with regards to the security. We can secure your messages in transport and message payload. Okay, and then sorry. Next is the PC connectivity. As we know, it is fully integrated Anypoint platform and it's running in the cloud. So it's really can be easily interfaced using MuleSoft REST API or even the non API or non MuleSoft API. And best of all, it has a unified management. It means it has a built-in support for role-based access control, client application management, MQ monitoring tools, statistics, and queue management. So all the features in the MQ is really the best from MuleSoft. So we will compare the AMQ versus the traditional async messaging. Multi-tenant versus non-multi-tenant. AMQ is a multi-tenant. Multi-tenant is the ability of a system to be able to multiple user can share a single resource instance versus the non-multi-tenant. Although there are some disadvantages, being a multi-tenant, the pros outweigh the costs in terms of maintenance, cost, setup management, etc. Next is fully elastic versus not fully elastic. So basically, the AMQ is fully elastic. Anyone MQ will be able to adapt to workload changes by provisioning and deprovisioning in an automatic manner. Last is the AMQ is easier to secure through data transport and message layer. Okay, in transport layer it is the built-in one, and in message layer we will use the crypto module to encrypt and decrypt your messages. Next, here is the basic connection parameters that we will going to use or to configure for the MQ. So we have a URL, client ID, client secret, and queue name. So the URL is based on the region that we will going to host. The MQ, the client ID, and client secret are the they call this connection parameters or the security that we'll be using to connect. And queue name is the name of the queue that you will be connecting through the MQ broker. And this is the sample configuration for the using Anypoint Studio. Sorry, have your URL, client ID, client secret, and the queue. Okay, traditional SEDA. As we know, SEDA means stage event-driven architecture. Message queuing is the messaging pattern being used in SEDA, or the stage-driven event architecture. It is built on it's a MuleSoft actually has the same architecture with SEDA, on which it has event-driven concurrency and dynamic thread pooling. It decomposes event-driven application into a set of stages connected by queue. So what are these stages or phases? So first is receive phase. So we receive the messages and then send to the queue. Next is to process the messages before going to the queue, and then the last phase is to dispatch. And then later we will have an example of SEDA. Okay, so I have here created a flow diagram for sample applications for SEDA. So imagine we have message from system A that was sent through the endpoint adapter, and then a unique correlation ID was associated to the message and was replied back to the sender. This is more of a correlation ID that will be used for the future references with respect or with regards to the specific or the unique messages that's being sent here. Next, the third one is the messages is being published to the message broker using the MQ publisher. Next step is the messages. The message payload is being subscribed by MQ subscriber. The next part is whatever data being processed here is being sent to system B or the receiving system. Next, this is more of notification or information on what happened to the processing, whether it's successful or not. So this is being published again to the broker. Next step is the message is being received now by the AMQ subscriber. And then next is to sorry. Yeah, and the number 8 step is to we invoke an webhook being exposed by system A. So this is for the status of the record, and then the correlation ID actually is part of the messages being sent here to the system A. Okay, this is the code I have created for the Anypoint Studio. So later we will try to take a look on this one. So this is the receive flow, and then this is the process flow, and then this is the dispatch flow. So actual demo. Oh, let me try to share my screen again. Then I'll try to try to so I will so here's the queue or the process being created. So the first one is the receive phase, process phase, and okay, process phase as well as the dispatch phase. Next, we take a look for each component what have been done. So we use UUID to represent the correlation ID that will be replied back to the sending system. And then I have here introduced the encryption. So let's take a look on the configuration. So I have created the public key to encrypt the messages, and then I have published it to the queue, and then the reply to the sender is the username as well as the with the value of UUID. And then next step is to receive the messages in the encrypted in the process layer. And then I have earlier I have set the username to the headers, property headers of AMQ, so that I can in the process stage I can pull that information back, so I can correlate. And then this is also the decrypting of the data. And then I have tried to execute here is to insert the message into the database. So here is the query, and this is the insert, and this is the notification payload that will be published back to the webhook in of the user. So in this case, success, and then publish it to the queue. The last stage is dispatch flow. Okay, so we receive that message again. Set payload, then log, and then we send the response back or notify back the sender of the status of the request. Okay, see. Okay, see. So in any one platform, I have deployed the application, and but first I have configured the here's the configuration, sample configuration that I created. So, but first we need to create the client apps. That's for the client secret and client ID. So we need to copy that one for our configuration. Next is we created the queues that has encrypted that encryption is enabled. Same with the receive queue. Next is the configuration of the Anypoint Studio. So for this case, I have created a public key. So you need to attach it on as a in source in your resources, and then configure some fingerprint and passphrase for private. And here, private key. And this is the MQ configuration. Okay, this is the deployed application. And then I have tried to create a uh, tables in the database. So to say, so let's try to select notes on the employee first. Then try to publish using Postman as a sender. So this is the data. Send. So this is the reply. As you can see, this is the correlation ID that was being dispatched. Take a look at the logs, encrypted one, and decrypted. So we check the records on the database. See here, it's created. And then I have here performed some demo also. This is to show you on how the encrypted data, encrypted message payload looks on the Anypoint platform versus the unencrypted one. So I have here created a flow that will publish message to the same queue. So let's take a look on how it will create. So publish the same data with encryption is actually on for both queues. Here is the encrypted. Okay. It's encrypted. Unencrypted. So as you can see first, this is the encrypted message. So the payload the message payload was not able. We are not able to view it since it's really encrypted. So this is for more double security. Well, and this one even this one actually is already encrypted in transport layer. The anypoint studio or the anypoint platform is the one encrypting or decrypting so that we will be able to view the actual payload. But here, yeah, we can still see that uh, in human readable form. Okay, that's all for my demo, and then let's go back to the presentation. Let's try to go back to my screen. Okay, so next is we uh, try to tackle the event-driven architecture strategy. Okay, so according to to Gartner, I know some of you listen to Gartner, but Gartner is more of a uh, in terms of information about how the application is being used in the market. So Gartner provide an insight to us what is uh, the current technology or platform that really stand out in the market. So according to the Gartner, about 50% of managed API will support event-driven IT by 2020. So event-driven APIs will be a part of technology mix, helping organization achieve a competitive advantage with real-time integration. For that reason, organizations not only in the beginning of defining their strategy, regularly ask two common questions. Should we leverage an event-driven architecture or API approach? And is there a hybrid between event-driven and API-led connectivity? So, in my perspective, the answer on question number one is both. Combined setup hybrid should work the best. Combining event-driven and then API-led approach. And then is there a hybrid? Yes, the second question. So this one I will show you on how it looks like with the API-led and augmented with API-led elements. Next is this is the API-led connectivity. This is the as we can see we have here experience API, process API, and systems API. So this is the typical API-led connectivity. While this one is the typical event-driven architecture. We have here event producers, event transport, and event consumer. So the producer is different, let's say IoT, um, e-commerce, Salesforce, SAP, UPS, etc. And then everyone send their messages to broker, which is can be the anypoint MQ. And then consumer can also be one of them, IoT, e-commerce, Salesforce, SAP, UPS. So how can then we combine event-driven with API-led? It's not moving. Okay, so this is a sample API-led with some anypoint MQ here. So so this is the one added to the flow. So let's say how the flow will works. We have request coming from consumer that is received and web app API or the experience layer. And then the message was published in anypoint MQ. And then anypoint MQ, it was consumed by event handler. So event handler can distribute or send the messages on the process layer depending on the use case of the requirement. Next is to eventually publish to the systems API. Okay. So actually, that's it for my presentation. Let me know if you have Q&A or questions.
Okay, so that's a very interesting topic, Clint. Well done. So I've learned something new today, and I believe some of questions in mind regarding what we discussed represented today. So we will be accommodating your questions now, guys. So for those who have questions, please type it in the Q&A tab located at the upper right corner. So we will be reading your questions and Clint. Uh, okay. So I think let's begin with the question and answer portion. Reading one of the questions from our Q&A tab. So this question is from Ryan. So his question is, why would I choose AMQ over other message brokers?
Okay, for me, the answer to the question is basic. AMQ has a backbone of any point platform, so it is fully integrated. So anything you can have in the world is in any point platform. So it has everything in the features. So I think yeah, the integration with any point platform is the best reason why we will use AMQ.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Ryan. We have another one from Jared. How is AMQ highly available?
AMQ can be highly available if configured. Let's say you have two or more application or server listening. So if one uh, instance is down, then another instance will also get started and up. So that's the possible setup for highly available setup. So it can be you have two message broker running, or at least one instance is running, and then if the other setup is one is secondary and the other one is primary. So that's the setup I'm thinking for it to become highly available.
Okay, so yeah, moving on to the next question. So I will be reading Peter's question. So he has three questions, but I think we can only accommodate one for now. So here's the question. So is it possible to send messages to the AnyPoint MQ via REST?
Yeah, but mostly we use that for administration of the queue. So we will know the status or the management part, but ideally we use the MQ. Yeah, but still possible. Just to answer your question.
Okay, thanks, Clint.
All right. For our next question, this one is from Bray Santos. Does it mean that every event-driven created is unique to its producer and not mixed up with other producers when being handled in AMQ?
Yeah. There's a unique what do you call this message ID that will be the signature or perhaps the identification of the message.
Okay, so I think this is the last question. So from Louis. So how does AnyPoint MQ handle streaming data? Is there an alternative if it is not capable?
Uh, in terms of streaming, I'm not yet particular with this one, but um, yeah, perhaps I'll take a look on the on this functionality of AMQ. But in with regards to streaming, yeah, support um, streaming. So we have a uh, what do you call this uh, components that support streaming. Like for instance, file the file is FTP. So I haven't checked the MQ. So perhaps that's my assignment.
Okay. So yeah, thanks, Clint. Thank you guys for all of your questions. Sorry, we can't accommodate all of your questions. But I hope you learned something and your questions are being answered. Okay, so let's proceed to the next part of the event. Okay, so are you guys familiar with this game? Four peaks and one word. Yes, in the chat if you. That's great. But if you're not, got you covered. So here are uh, questions displays four pictures by word. So a player's aim is to figure out what the word is. So below the picture, there will be empty boxes which correspond to the letters of the word. So after 10 seconds, we will be displaying a letter as your clue. The first person to type the correct word in the chat box wins. So we will be giving you a clue. So all words or word are related to this event. Okay? So it is easy as that. So for you to be familiar with the game, we will be displaying two sample questions before the actual game. So again, we will be displaying two questions before the actual game. So here's the first sample picture. Okay, can you guys? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of answers already without any clue. Okay, yep. I think Praveen got the correct answer. So yeah, the correct answer is happy. Okay, so are you ready for the next picture? Okay, let's proceed to the next picture. Okay, I think Carlo got the correct answer. That's fast. That's very fast. Uh, you answered it even without the clue.
Yeah, too bad. This is just a sample question.
Yeah. So, so
All
are
right.
you guys ready with the actual game? Okay. I think we can proceed to the first picture. Okay.
Wow,
I
that was fast.
Carlotte, I think he got already the correct answer. Congratulations to Carlo. That was very fast.
Okay, we will now proceed with the next one. So this is quite challenging. It's actually a two-word answer. So can you guys guess this one? Don't forget about the clue. All right. Yes, we have a winner. It's Joel Aldor for the first one who got the correct answer.
Our attendees are very competitive, Diane.
Yeah, I know. And they are fast thinkers.
Even without a clue, they can answer the questions. Nice one, Joel. Okay, I think we're ready for the third and last picture. So here it is, the third picture. Okay,
So you guys don't need the clues anymore.
yes. I think
Told you.
congratulations to Peter. Uh he got the correct answer already.
Yup.
So
Congratulations, Peter Santos.
okay, I think that concludes our guessing game for today's event. And congratulations to all the winners. So we will be reaching out to you guys on how to claim your MuleSoft vouchers. Okay,
Yep.
congratulations again to the winners.
Congratulations, guys. All right, so share your pictures and appreciation of our event around social media platforms. And don't forget to include the hashtag Manila MuleSoft Meetup and MuleSoft Meetup. So before we end, you may check out the recent events in the MuleSoft Asia Summit Meetup. We have provided the link in the presentation, so you can check that one out.
Yep. And for those who are interested, you can reach out to any one of the organizers or send or simply send an email to meetups@mulesoft.com.
That's correct. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this event, and we hope to see you again next time. Again, this has been your host, Dee.
And Joe,
Stay safe, everyone.
enjoy the
Enjoy
rest
the
of
rest
your
of your
day.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
guys for
guys.
Thank
attending.
you. Thank you.